Heart and Soul miniseries Adventurelands, Part 30. When we met up the next day, Kat and K9 arrived together holding hands. They were acting even more adorably awkward than they usually did. It was so cute that I decided to keep the observation to myself so as not to ruin it. I wasn't sure that I knew what was causing it, but I had a good idea and didn't know how to bring it up without being rude. This time, when K9 went to put his hand on me so we could teleport, he went straight for my shoulder with no funny business. Cat seemed to be keeping a careful eye on him anyway, but luckily it was unnecessary this time. I teleported us down to the strange room once again, and just like last time, Cat was on the books before I could even see her move. I was wondering, what's in those books? I sorta understood the first one, but everything after that was incomprehensible to me. It's a little tough to explain. How much do you know about loop quantum gravity and M theory? What? Okay, sorry. You will not be understanding any of this. Take a few classes in quantum physics first, and maybe I can explain the rest. But with no scientific basis, I don't think I can help. K9 butted in to ask, "Could you teach me? I don't know what science is, but if you're teaching it, I'll try my best to pay attention." It would take a long time and probably a lot more repetition than I have in me. But I think we could work out a deal if you do exactly what I say with no backtalk. K9 sat up like a dog, paying attention to his master. He even stuck his tongue out a little and began panting, purely for effect. Kat stood up, grabbed another book off the shelf, and started reading while she was walking back to her seat. I could not figure out how she was doing that. I couldn't walk a straight line without bumping into things when I wasn't reading. A moment later, I was distracted by K9 on all fours, dropping a tennis ball at my feet while looking expectantly at me. As I picked up the ball, it had an odd magical feeling to it. It was almost like electricity was licking my hand. It was a sentient vibrational humming. I could feel that this strange ball was only half of an item, and it wanted to rejoin the bow that was currently in the shape of a tennis ball launcher, just as desperately as K9 wanted me to throw it so that he'd have something to chase. I could practically see his non-existent tail wagging as I picked up the ball and threw it across the room. He ran after it at full speed, even snatching it out of the air just before it hit a wall, that he then smashed into a second later. Then he looked nervously at Kat. She was reading yet another book and didn't seem to notice what we were doing at all. Satisfied that he hadn't interrupted her, he quickly brought the ball back over to me, and I tossed it again. It bounced a few more times before he caught it this time, and looked even more nervously at Kat. She still didn't react, so we kept playing while she studied every word. It wasn't long before she'd finished, and began inspecting the entire room from top to bottom. K9 joined her in that activity, sniffing everything she'd just gone over. In no time, they were satisfied. I asked what she'd learned, and she just smiled at me patronizingly for a long moment before we. Smiled at me patronizingly for a moment. We both gave her expectant looks that did not stop until she broke, saying, "Those books are the math that holds the universe together. They told me the past, the present, and the future. I know the way to go. I just can't force or trick anyone into walking on their path where there'd be no point in walking it. Some things cannot be taught, but they still need to be learned. Even if I could teach, I don't wanna. I'm here to be a PKer, not a teacher. I intend to learn how to kill monsters in every form. I'll leave all that inspirational crap to you." What? Inspirational crap? Me? I mean, yeah, I admire all the characters that can do that in books and the history stuff, but that is so not me. Not yet, she said in an infuriatingly inscrutable tone, quietly. "What about me?" K9 asked. She smiled at him, then scratched his head as she patronizingly said, "You? You're the best boy. Yes, you are. In the most sarcastic voice anyone had ever heard, she added, don't you ever go trying to change or let anyone tell you that you're too immature. You need and that you need to learn that you should only go after the things you really want. Who's a good boy? I assumed he'd find that as insulting as I did, but once again I could see his imaginary tail wagging. Though it did seem like the gears in his head had started turning. I was wondering how that didn't count as her walking him down the right path, but I wasn't about to ask. I didn't want to piss her off, not directly after she'd supposedly learned everything. I really wasn't too sure what she'd meant by that, but didn't want to find out the hard way either. Then the look in her eyes changed. She took one of each of our hands and walked the two of us over to the desks, where she sat us down and took a deep breath before starting. So, it seems we have a capital D demon after us. I'm not too sure who it is or how they are hiding so well, but there's definitely one coming for us. That monster that attacked is one of its high-ranking generals. I don't know what it's after, but the fact that we kept it off for so long is nothing short of a miracle. The only things that have more power than a capital D demon are the gods they serve. With one of them after us, we need to figure out who and far more importantly, why. Didn't you just learn everything? I learned the mechanics behind everything, not the specifics. Well, I'm confused. As well you should be. For now. She paused to put a hand on my and Canine's shoulders, and seemed to tell me to teleport us back to the church without using words. I did so as she continued to speak. Come on, let's get home, and she cut herself off quickly. When we were back in the church, she noticed that there was someone else close by. As he stepped out from the shadows, we all recognized him instantly. Weasel! What are you doing here? No, more importantly, is there anything else I can call you? I hate calling you that, and I don't think you like hearing it either. It's a church, isn't it? I came to make a confession. Of course, not to any priest here. I don't think the Church of Unnecessary Evil could have a priest. I had to confess to all of you. Wait, no, that came out wrong. I have to tell you all something secret, that way you can do the same for me. What in the name of everything evil are you talking about? I was just getting to that. In truth, my magic is secrets magic. I deal in secrets of all kinds, and I know when there's a big one that's important or necessary. I don't know how, I don't know what it is, yet, but I know that my magic pulled me here. Didn't even know before today that that I could be drawn this strongly to anything. You all you all know something big, and I need to know what it is. What are you talking about? There's no secret library under the cat quickly swatted the back of Canine's head a little too hard for him to miss the point. Secret library under the hmm. I need to go do a believable excuse quickly. Bye. That was suspicious, right? It wasn't just me, was it? No, yeah, that was hard to ignore. If it wasn't the definition of suspicious, then I don't have a clue what it would be. Should we follow him? Canine asked, sniffing the air. Do you have any clue where he went? I lost him the second he started to leave. Canine pointed to his nose and said, Doggy powers. I can track anyone, anywhere, or tell you a lot of other things about your health and well-being that even I'm not dumb enough to say in public anymore. Normally, I'm not a fan of doing anything unnecessary. However, if I get to stalk someone, exceptions can and should be made. She clung to Canine as she said that, staring at him for a long moment before she gently chomped on his shoulder. Uh, Please lead the way before this gets any more uncomfortable for me. They both straightened up, suddenly more aware of their audience. Then Canine began to sniff and followed his nose. We followed him through the streets for several minutes before arriving at the gates of one of the 5 families. We knew Max, the heir to the pressure line, well enough, but as far as any of us knew, none of the other 4 families have any children in our grade. They couldn't really go for we couldn't really go any further without an invitation either. So we had to give up for now. All we'd learned was that he'd retreated into the house of one of the families. It's the family that cannot be named, because no one, aside from the king and the GM, actually know what their name is. We were all confused, but Cat seemed genuinely alarmed. There was no reason he should have gone into that house. Even if it was his home, he should have been living in the dorms with the rest of the students. Cat started to pace nervously, which seemed very out of character for her. Alarmed by this, I asked, "What is it? Is something wrong?" Yes, a lot is wrong. That library has to be kept in the hands of the young. No one over 18 can learn about it, ever. Why not? It's complicated, she said, while squinting her eyes as appraisingly and appraising his mental capacity, a weasel's mental capacity. I think I have an idea from the little bit I was able to read in that book, but if I'm catching your drift correctly, then yes, this is